Extravaganza, fantastic to be here. Thanks to the magnificent people at the Brewery Fresh Carlton Draft, the finest drop in the world. Mick Malloy, Sam Pang. It's grand final week. How good is this? How good is this?
And unless Bobby's gone mad with some renovations over the weekend, I'd say this isn't the All Nations Hotel. Where are we, Andy?
We are at a place called the General Assembly down here on South Wharf. It is nothing like the All Nations. I love it.
Can I just say, you know why? You know how you're not at the All Nations?
Go on.
Inside toilets.
Hey,
all of a sudden, it's the 21st century.
The other thing, who are all these people that turn up here?
These people are. We've got a lot. Say hi to yourselves, guys. Cheers. Here's Thank you for coming in. Now, the good folk at Carlton Draft were kind enough to provide us for our grand final show with a live audience at the pub, and because of that, we need our own crowd control. That's why we've got David Rhys-Jones on the door. Thank you, David.
Rhys, you are well qualified to be on the door tonight. Many people may know your history, but for those of you who don't, how many times were you reported, Rhys?
I was only reported 25 times. And every one of them deserved it.
And what about, out of all those 25, can you remember the first time you got reported, Rhys?
Yeah, well, I did round 18, 1981, South Melbourne versus Melbourne. I got reported 5 times in the one match. So.
And
there's only 4 quarters.
Yeah. But the irony was that the runner I hit in that game was a bloke called Peter Smith, who happened to be Norman Smith's son. You see the irony there? I whacked his kid and won his medal.
He's a Norman Smith medalist over here.
Hey, she was a hot one back then. Temperature 31 degrees, I think, at the opening. It's going to be 28 or 29 on Saturday. To have to prepare any differently, the boys going out there this Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, well, I probably had me smoke a little bit earlier before I went out.
I'm pretty sure you used to have a runner bring you one out during the quarter, didn't you, Rhys? That's great to see. And when was the last time these two teams met? West Coast?
In 1991. 91 was the last time they ran around in a grand final. So, and that became infamous as far as grand finals go. Not merely because it wasn't at the MCG.
It was at Waverley.
Correct.
But and not for the game.
No.
He's talking the pre-match entertainment.
Correct.
There he is on the back of the Batmobile, and yes.
Who are those two?
They were the Ondiekis.
Are they what?
They were the Ondiekis.
Yeah, well, they divorced after seeing this.
There's Deeks in the background. He's run 50 marathons and never looked as exhausted as this in his life.
It was a who's who of Australian sporting stars there this stage. There's, of course, Jeff Fenwick.
There's a bloke who's been punched in the head and he's never looked as confused as that.
That was Lionel Rosen fighting Harada. Can you imagine fighting Harada, having to go home to Japan and explain that?
Hey, that was about the time that you were playing under 19 footy for Collingwood, wasn't it? Back in '91. Was that your halcyon days?
I can't believe it took this long to bring it up. No, that day is also memorable in '91 because that was the last ever game of under-19s football played, the grand final earlier that morning.
Is that right?
It was North Melbourne took on Collingwood.
And were you playing in that?
I trained with the senior squad all week. When they picked the team, not only was I not in the team, I wasn't even an emergency. And they lost. And I think you know why.
Of course, no, Sam. Hawthorn are going for 3-peat. It's only been done 5 times in the history of the game. They're a super team, and everyone's trying to drill down outside of the talent that they've got and trying to find out what is the secret. What is it that Hawthorn
I'll tell you the secret. An army marches on its stomach, Andy, and that is Hawthorn's secret. Here they are after round 19. Have a look what they're hopping into. They've got the hot dogs. They've got a bit of a spread. They're all helping themselves. They're well nourished. It's great after they've been at it. And that is North Melbourne's. Now, last time I looked, pretzels weren't a superfood. There's a banana, and I think one's been trifled with.
There's 3 bananas for 22 blokes. Is that the best they can do down at North Melbourne, is it?
It's the best they could do because North Melbourne's catering is actually provided by Second Bite Charity. And, that's not a bad effort.
They look after the needy.
Exactly.
The build-up's huge, obviously. We've got the
public.
Always.
This is the best week in Melbourne, am I right?
What about 30 or 40,000 coming over from the west to watch the game, they reckon. The public holiday the day before
on
the
grand
Friday,
final, which means everyone can get down to the grand final parade.
Down there
the parade. I love the parade. I remember Dustin Fletcher's very first parade.
Dustin Fletcher's first parade.
There we go.
Oh, look at it.
Some great moments.
Welcome back to the General Assembly here at South Wharf. Carlton Draft, the freshest beer in town. You can get it here.
That's where it comes from, just
straight
up
from
there.
those vats, exactly.
Can I get one of those in my bedroom, please? That would be great. Can we order these in?
Brownlow, of course, this week, Nat Five, fantastic winner. But the whole thing
He did great.
It was almost derailed by this
A leak.
crazy leak that went around at the start of the camp. This merchandising site had put up that Sam Mitchell, there was a jumper that was going to be available, signed by Mitchell, commemorating the 2015 Brownlow Medal win.
Who would fall for that?
Well, I bought 2 of them. And, that's not the first time. That's not the first time that merchandising place has gone early. You know, they also released a Richmond Premiership souvenir jumper.
David, can you have a word, please, to young Mr. Pang here? My highlight was the bloke delivering the actual votes. Here he is here. Action! Yes! And here he comes, ladies. Look out, it's Magic Mike bringing in the votes as he gets up the stairs.
He looks like Luke Beveridge.
Tell you what was unnecessary.
And here he comes. Oh, look, he's delivering. Look, Gil thinks it's just a bag full of cash again. Oh, look, my lunch money's here.
We all love Bruce, but you tell me now, when Nat Fyfe was announced as the winner, this was the official announcement.
Yeah.
You tell me, you have a look at this, and you tell me if Bruce McAvaney just went a bit overboard. Have a listen.
You've won the Brownlow Medal, mate.
Bruce, just tone it down, Bruce.
Just dial it down a bit.
Any of you blokes ever win anything, by the way?
It's funny you should mention that. I don't like to go into it, but I won the Mount Eliza Best and Fairest Under 14. And thank you. I was a worthy winner. I really was.
Who's Barry Stevenson?
Look, I may have lost the original trophy, Andy, but that signifies my achievements that year.
And what about you've got greater moments in your career though.
I played on Stephen Silvani. I played on Stephen Silvani. This is a true story. As a schoolboy who's playing for Marcelin, and I kept him down to 6 goals. I was playing centre half forward, and he was playing centre half back. But I kept him down to 6 goals.
Hey, you
what
mentioned-
about no? What about you?
What about me?
What did you ever win? Did you ever win a premiership?
No, we lost one in the under-19s by 3 points.
By 3 points. Why?
Well, I kicked 2-7,
You kicked 2-7, which means you finished the year on how many goals?
99. Kicked the first goal of the granny to get to 98, and then the first goal of the last quarter to get to 99. I kicked 7 behinds in between.
And you lost
3 points.
and how'd the seniors go?
Now, you've already mentioned Reece.
Yes.
But I noticed we've got another absolute
I'm
superstar
so
behind the
excited
jump.
about this.
Jason Ackermanis, everybody.
Welcome aboard, Jason. Thank you for being here. Now, I have a question without notice. Did you ever win anything in your career?
Are you serious? No, look, I've won that many. They've named awards after me. So don't worry. But
What haven't you won? Now, you've won the Brownlow. Talk us through that. Was that a life-changing
2001, great memory. It was the last time that Richmond actually won a final.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Ackermanis. David,
What do you remember about the night, Acker?
Well, a couple of things I remember. I got a new car that day, which is awesome. I was born the 24th of February, so my favourite number was 24. 24th of September, I go there, I'm going to get a free feed. I go up to Legends Room, Ackermanis Room, whatever it's called now at the gathering. I wander in. I had a good year, but the first half was great and I'm so relaxed. I ended up winning, and honestly, you can't even begin to tell you what a life-changing event it was. It was wonderful.
can I ask, they're saying this team, if it's a three-peat, could be considered one of the best, if not the best of all time. And now the Brisbane Lions were widely regarded at the time as the best. How do you think they compare?
You can compare and say that is awesome. 4 in 5 years or whatever it is. All credit to them. They've done a wonderful job. But the one thing I will say, they never had to travel twice. They didn't have to travel like we did every second week. And we never ever had a chance to get Brian Lake we couldn't get McAvoy, and we could never get Frawley because we didn't have
let it
we
go.
didn't have any.
Let it go. You really analyse
So we
it.
can't
Yeah,
get
okay.
that.
It was a yes, no question.
You're behind the jump tonight for a reason. We've got the freshest beer in Australia.
This is
the
Carlton
day
Draft Brewery
the day that it's brewed, we pour it out of these tanks here at the General Assembly.
Can we see you pour one? We
Can
want to
you
see
pour
your
one?
style. If you are the best in the business, let's see some of that
Same
on
here,
the
okay.
ground.
The man
Here
of
we
many
go,
talents.
people.
Man of many talents.
How's he looking, Mickey?
Jesus, Acker. Nat,
Oh, that's,
Nat,
you buggered that up. That is a shocker.
His head is bigger than Mick Malloy, but anyway, don't worry about that.
I think that's a
But
clanger.
here's one I've done earlier, as you can see. Absolutely perfect.
Here's a second. Wait, okay.
Thank you very much.
Here's one I've done earlier. It's not a cooking show, okay?
Thank you for coming on board and being part of our grand final show. And look, just in case you can't last the distance or you need to be subbed out, we've got our super sub-in players. Bobby from the
Grand final weekend. A lot of chat about the grand final entertainment, of course.
Become as important as the game itself.
Yeah, pre-game is, it's a big time.
Yeah,
Well,
it is.
so
Let's
we've
have a
got-
look at some of the greats over the years. There's Olivia Newton-John, you may remember. That was, I don't know what year that was.
That was 87.
Here comes Peter Allen. That was the start of the grand final sprint. Oh, look at him.
And who's that?
Well, that's John Farnham in '89 on his first farewell tour concert. Was it great? Who else, Mickey?
And of course, well, I think we're going to the big fella here. Meanwhile,
We've tried to make it so high-tech.
We've overcooked it.
We have. The days
Can
where we had the
overthink
little
these things.
kiddies out there doing synchronised dancing.
there it is. This is the high watermark of
Couple of
pre-grand final
flags.
entertainment for me. It's the kids. It's synchronised.
We were starting to lose the plot a bit.
Wow,
by
this is
stage,
where the
weren't
wheels
we?
fell off with the dancing zombies. I mean, I think that's a gaggle of Michael Jackson's. Why? What? Here's some calisthenics.
I did love the kids, but it's almost an unsafe workplace. You know what I mean? You've got to be careful
What are
with
you
your
talking
kid
about?
because to hold on these flags takes a lot of effort, and they don't always have it.
Oh, no.
Poor little kid.
Back and to the left. That's like the Zabruta footage. That is unbelievable. And you did have to be careful if you're a kid and you're working around Peter Landy. This is one of my favourite moments from a grand final. Watch this. The kids get a little overexcited in front of the camera, and watch how Landy deals with them. There's a bump, and watch out, and that's just a kick. And there's a backhander to go on with.
For me, all the action takes place at halftime.
You're obsessed with this, and you always have been, haven't you? The grand final sprint.
The iconic grand final
Yeah,
sprint.
but hang on. What about what they've done this year? How
have
do
they
you
done?
feel this? Now, a
Now, you
sponsor...
need to point out we're not making this up. This is true.
This is fair income vision, right? 1-3 Cabs sponsoring the halftime sprint. They have got 2 spots in the grand final sprint.
What?
Yeah, for two of their taxi drivers.
That's
And they have been going through extensive trials to find out who the 2 fastest cab drivers in Melbourne are.
and you'll know who they are. One of them will take the longest route to get there. And the other one, I think I've actually done a runner from.
Well,
I think it makes a mockery of it, and I think it brings dishonour to great names of grand final sprint winners of the past.
rubbish.
I'm talking about Marquezani,
That's rubbish.
Acker.
I did 2 grand final sprints. In 2000, I did it. 3/4 of the way through, pulled a hamstring. Next year, won a Brownlow.
Acker, I love you, but just try to stay to the script. This is why you this is why you fell out with all those clubs, mate. You know that, don't you? I wanted to...
Hey, give me a beer, I'll fill it up.
No, it brings a mockery. It makes a mockery of the grand final sprint.
Why?
No, because you know why? When you think of grand final sprints, right?
only one, no.
There's only one,
Yep,
and
it
it's the great Jeff Ablett. He won
There he
3
is.
in a row. Have a look at it. Have a look at the fast twitch fibres.
Oh, bang!
And this is not a. This is a good field.
That's a class field,
That's
isn't it?
Conlon. There's Mickey Turner. Look at that. He's running in thongs. He could do anything, mate. He won it. He won 3 in a row. 79, 88, 81. He won it 4 times overall.
And
Should have won 5.
What did he get for winning?
Well, he won $200 from Avis. But anyway,
Which in those days could have bought you a small house. Let's be honest.
geez, I wonder what Jeff Ablett's up to now.
Hey guys, I'm over here. Sitting over here. Thanks for having me here.
Jeffrey Ablett,
Guys,
are you Jeff, are you comfortable being in such close proximity to Sam? He has got a very, very keen fascination in you. You're not too uncomfortable with having him?
I'm fascinated with him as well.
Right,
so
okay, good, yeah.
I watch all his shows on television. Very quick on the button. And,
Gee, you must stay up late because most of them don't start till 12 in the morning.
Jeff, I've got to ask you, mate, because as I've said, you won in 79, 80, 81. You came back for Hawthorn, you came back in 85 and you won it again for St Kilda. What was your preparation like in those days for the grand final sprint?
I crammed in as much training as I could. Probably looking back, one year I pulled a muscle in my hammy and I shouldn't have run. I went to a doctor on the way to the ground, had about 30 jabs in my hammy and back.
This is just to run in the grand final sprint.
Yeah. Because if you say you're going to run, you're going to run. And so I thought that'd be okay, but I couldn't feel my legs, but I just missed out. But look, I think it should be back to what it was. I think the whole...
It should be. I agree with you.
These
days, players run to get grand final tickets. You know?
Most of the crowd want to see who's the fastest bloke. Simple as that.
It's all the more remarkable for me, considering if you take a look at your footy card, you wouldn't have thought you were quick.
I think I was about 18 at the time.
Couldn't you got a decent footy? I mean, that footy looks like it's been kicked for about 25 years.
John Kennedy Sr. wouldn't allow us. This is true, they used to paint the balls with new paint to make them look new.
Well, Jeff, can I just say, Jeff, thanks for bringing that footy card in too, mate.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Ablett, everybody. Welcome back, Friday Front Bar Grand Final special here from the General Assembly.
That is the best bloody beer I've ever drinking in my life.
Drinking. You've ever drinking in your life? How many of you drinking tonight?
Can I buy a vowel? Can I buy a vowel?
Hey, talking to Jeff Ablett, remind this.
Hey, hang on, guys, hang on. I've got someone wants to come in here.
Please.
You reckon we should let him in?
Who is it?
got?
Oh, mate, he's only a little bloke.
Oh,
It's Johnny Clayton!
Four-time premiership player. As Reece said, four-time premiership, McGarry medalist, Brownlow medalist.
Can I hold on? The pedigree is unbelievable, but can I just say, first things first, John, did you ever win a grand final sprint?
Oh, no, never. No, it was a bit dirty tonight too. Had to line up outside of the bar. I never lined up outside the bar. Back in my day, we just come straight in, get drink cards, and away we went.
And that was usually at half time.
Oh, yeah, thanks very much.
Cheers to you.
Cheers, welcome aboard.
Yeah, it's about time I got a drink.
Can I say this? Dermot Brereton, one of the all-time greats, says to me that he reckons you're the best player he ever played with.
So he should.
And he played with many greats. That's high praise, isn't it?
I'm still paying him, so I've got to stop saying this. No,
But have you heard him say that?
Yes,
That's amazing.
Yeah. When he comes over to do some shows over in Adelaide, I get texts from blokes saying, Dermot Brett reckons that you're the best player. Well, I am, but actually I thought Dermot was because I made him a superstar. So Sam was a good player. Who'd you play for?
A lot of clubs, right?
He played for Collingwood under 19s, but my favourite story of his journey was, what was your nickname?
Oh.
Tell him your nickname.
John, my nickname for one of the years I played was the Orchid.
And why did they call you the Orchid?
Because apparently I needed absolute perfect conditions to thrive. That's not. I thought it was unfair, Brad.
Well, they used to call me the rat. So I used to play in dirty conditions.
Right,
They call me the dirty rat. So
Where did the rat come from? Like, is there a story to that or not?
it's a bit of a hair thing, and every game I played, 2 hours before I had a cheese sandwich. So I know it's dumb, isn't it? It's really weak.
White bread?
Well, it doesn't matter. White bread,
didn't matter,
yeah.
Butter?
Yeah. But I had to have 2 hours before a game. I had to have a cheese sandwich. And if I didn't have a cheese sandwich before the game, my whole game was destroyed.
If this Hawthorn side does win the premiership on the weekend for 3 in a row, do you reckon they're better than the side that you were part of? I've got a theory about this, but what do you think?
Well, look, I suppose back in our day, when I came to Hawthorn, I came in '86. They played 7 grand finals in a row. Like, to get yourself up for 7 grand finals.
Think about that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is so hard to get yourself up and keep the players and it goes. And to win 3 of them in a row is a fairly enormous job as well. So it's sort of hard to realise if they are the best or we were the best. So, but to play 7 grand finals in a row, it's enormous effort.
But in 1984, John,
Yes.
I'll call you John because this is serious.
Sorry for laughing because I know where it's going to go.
We can still call you the Orchid.
John, you signed in 1984 for Carlton.
Yeah.
It took $20,000 off
It
them.
was so good.
What
What did you do with that money?
Well, I spent it on. I brought myself a nice Peterborough Commodore, so because I like fast cars, so I thought
Oh yeah, good on you.
Bloody well spent.
89 was one of the most violent
89.
and physically taxing grand finals we've ever seen. And you copped it early, and
Yeah.
I don't know who said, wear the dressing gown up to get your medallion. That's a good idea.
Have you stolen that from your hotel room? I can't
I
remember.
can't remember nothing of the game. I can't remember even doing this. I can't remember even going up and getting my medal and running around the ground. It was scary. You know, looking back now, it was pretty scary for myself.
There were so many acts of courage that day, none more so, John, than your great teammate Dipper, who ran back into Gary Ablett, basically. And he punched what did he do? Punched it along?
Punched his lung, busted a rib. Oh no, he's in massive
That was in
trouble.
the first quarter. He played on.
That was stupid. That was.
Well, do you know what? That was stupid, but not as stupid as this. And I'm going to pay tribute to my good mate Andy Marr here. This is a rampaging Robbie Muir. Bang!
That's Andy Marr.
That is Andy
me.
Marr.
I mean,
And watch
number
Andy
12.
Marr back into this one. And Robbie Muir. Oi!
Who are you playing there?
It was a charity game.
it a charity?
Saints v Sinners. We were raising some money for St Kilda.
Can I ask you, have you ever played in a charity match?
I played in a thing called in Melbourne. It's called the Community Cup, Brad. I don't know if you know this. It's like Triple R and PBS, which are radio stations, and they take on the Rock Dogs, which is all musos, and like Tim Rogers plays, and Paul Kelly's the coach.
Yeah, it's great.
So I played in that once.
How'd you go?
Well, I won the medal, but can I just say, if you would have gone all right that day too, if you were playing on the drummer from the Cosmic Psychos, it's not that big a thing, mate. I'm
Hey,
telling
Johnny,
you.
in a big week for the Hawthorn Footy
Yeah.
Club. It's fantastic to spend some time with you. Do you think they're going to get over the line?
I hope so. Look, it's 3 in a row is a fantastic effort. Tough game. Hope the Hawks win by 1 point.
Hey guys, big cheers to Johnny.
Welcome back to the grand final special, the Friday front bar. Of course, we've got the grand final edition of the Footy Record. This is an absolute collector's item, a must-read, must-purchase for every single person who's going to the grand final who loves their footy. You've got to get hold of the Footy Record.
I know we don't like doing this, but it's time to do some serious football analysis.
Well, people think we're just
on
here for
our
a bit of life, but we
program.
do this every week.
People
don't
think
we?
we're lightweights,
Yeah, no, we're
and
serious
in your
about
case,
footy.
they're right. But what I would like to do is now analyse the game and do it in a way, you know, where Fox have got like
The
that,
David King in his
what, got
lab.
the war room
Yeah, the
or
lab.
or the lab. Well, we've got a little segment that we think is taking analysis to new heights.
Oh, that's a bit better.
Brewery Fresh.
Who gets Kennedy this week?
Crawley.
Yeah.
Bigger question, Mitchell. Who does he corky this week?
Straight to Pritis, as high up in the thigh as he possibly can.
Guys, I reckon Hawthorn should kick it to this guy.
Who's that guy?
Puopolo. Life size. Yeah, I'll give that a good 5 minutes.
Tell you what, by the way, that shoot took a lot longer than you may think.
Why is that?
No, nothing. I'm just saying you might want to get your prostate checked. That's all. long. Take 3, take 4.
Acker, you're tiring, you've been great, but it's time to play our sub. Hacker our Bobby in. Bobby, have it.
Bobby
At
O'Kane.
the All Nations Hotel. Thank you.
And of course, on the way throughout the course of the year, if you've been watching the show from time to time, you'll notice that Dave Hughes, Andy Lee, Chaz Licciardello, and Limo have been part of the show from time to time.
Thank
Bobby
you.
O'Kane and the great people at the All Nations Hotel. And of course, the fantastic support we've had from not only the AFL, but the good people at
Hughes is here. Bang. Hello, mate.
It's really wanted to be a part of your last show, guys.
No, you're fantastic. It looks like David's about to throw you out.
Yeah, mate. I was the MCG in '87 on the hottest grand final ever. This guy won the Norman Smith medal, so Saturday's gonna be hot too. So, bit of that's something for you.
Hey, you should be in the lav with us. That was right up there with the rest of it. Good on you, Dave.
Great to see you, Dave. Thanks to everybody who's been watching. It's been great fun doing the show this year. Who knows what the future brings. May the best side win on Saturday afternoon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Cheers.